Uncle Doug.
Yellow.
I'm seeing you. I'm seeing you in a basement, and I'm seeing you surrounded by cat fur and empty vodka bottles.
Liquor
How
bottles,
close am I?
exactly. Well, as long as you don't see the body in the corner, we're fine.
Well, that's what he's looking for.
That's what, yeah. I'm scanning. I'm still scanning. How am I doing so far?
Pretty good. But anyone who knows anything about me knows about my vodka.
Hey,
Are you saying that I'm cheating? That I'm doing a warm read?
So you guys remember how just this last week was we mentioned in the beginning of the show, we joined our friends Tom and Cecil from the Cognitive Dissonance podcast to raise some dough for the good guys in the Georgia runoff races for U.S. Senate.
Yeah, we done that.
Yeah, that was a ball, and those guys were awesome. And I bring them up because they made an episode of their show, I don't know if you guys heard this a few weeks back, about the huge problems with forensic science in police investigation and convictions, the forensic science, and it was pretty fucking alarming, I must say. The quote science of all the scientific parts of the actual science of forensic science is terrifyingly thin for such huge matters of literal life and death. It was just a couple. I should have put the episode number they did. It's well worth a listen. But their discussion about all that reminded me of something I've been wanting to talk about for ages. And that is something a little less scientific, but nonetheless is bafflingly still part of some police investigations all the time. So way back when I was a baby, Mark, I worked at a fabrication shop in L.A., and we'd all go out to lunch at the cheap places around the shop in Chatsworth, which is a lovely part of Los Angeles, believe me. And whenever we went to the Chinese buffet, my friend would fake read his fortune cookie with feigned dismay and say, "Psychics will lead police to your rotting corpse." It was and is still hilarious, I think, but it speaks to a serious problem. And that is the cultural acceptance in the U.S. and other parts of the world.
Rotting corpses.
Rotting corpses and Chinese fortune cookies. That people who have magic dreams about horrible events should and are able to direct police investigations and even send people to trial. Should police and prosecutors consult the tarot or examine chicken entrails in order to know where to dig? Or tell families who took their child and did what to them? I'm going to go against the editorial policy of the How To Heretic and say, no, they absolutely fucking should not. Yet even today, in the stable and sane US of A of 2020... with its totally flawless and fair judicial system, psychics are too often given a place at the table in investigations into super serious matters.
Oh,
no. Now, as a person who works in film and television, I hate to place the blame on my industry, but a ton of the blame is deservedly directed at the film and television industry.
Yeah.
There are too many shows about cops with psychic powers or psychics helping cops, or garbage, quote, reality shows about psychics like Crossing Over with John Edward, which I don't think is on anymore, who, like Eli said last week, has been exposed as a charlatan. Even though
not that harmed his reputation at all.
No, but his show's not on anymore. Anyway, I don't give a shit. So even though one of the, quote, reality TV shows purporting to show actual crime-solving detectives, detective work by psychics, got canceled after 3 seasons because they never solved a single thing. But it still got 3 seasons.
Yeah.
no. And did they know they were going to get canceled?
Yeah, that's the test.
And by the way, there's a thing that lawyers and prosecutors and defense attorneys in America talk about called the CSI effect, right? Where juries just believe, no, you send it to the lab, you go clickety, clickety, click,
right,
and a picture of the killer downloads, right? Like from
enhance.
Exactly. Click from a hair follicle. And this is part of it too. Like fiction and quote unquote nonfiction have kind of conditioned people to believe, oh yeah, there's something there, right?
Right.
Now, to follow
Zoom
on that,
in and enhance.
yeah. 2020 is not the ideal year to be overly fair to the police, but in a modicum of fairness to the police, a study showed that only 1/3 of U.S. police departments have ever had any real association with a psychic. and far
a third?
a third.
That's only?
It's that
because
low.
that seems like an insanely high number.
I thought it would be higher than that.
Oh my
So
God.
and far fewer than that number sought them out, under 5%. So maybe it's because I toil in the American credulity mines every week. I was shocked to find the number so low. And that might have something to do with some surprisingly encouraging stats, Daniel.
Okay.
The Baylor Institute did a study in 2006, I think, where they found that only 13% of Americans believe in psychics. Which
Really?
is
Wow.
Yeah. Now, twice the number of women believe in them as men, for what that's worth. And also, kind of surprisingly, Southerners are less likely to believe in them than Yankees in the Northeast.
No
when you're
kidding.
looking at
That
regionals.
is so strange.
13% is an encouragingly low number, though in actual numbers it's about 16 million people,
Yeah.
which is still too many people. Psychics have kind of embedded themselves in the American mud, starting with the spiritualists of the 19th century, then turning into an entire communications technology industry to bilk people out of their cash in the late 20th century, which brought me to my new favorite word, fake lore. Basically an attempt to artificially graft some spiritual or cultural idea into the organic growth of folklore where it kind of doesn't belong. But yeah, so getting back to that earlier stat, Dan, while a third of police departments say they have dealt with skeptic with psychics,
Yeah, that number's a lot lower.
it's a lot lower. Only 5% actually sought them out. So that's kind of encouraging. Right.
Yeah.
So
it's-
what? That
that's-
means the psychics just showed up and said, "I want to solve your murder."
They
do that.
They flood them. So I'll
Really?
get to that. So how do psychics behind the police tape or elsewhere do what they do? They have a variety of, quote, methods to find the various and sundry Jones Benet. Thank you. Psychometry is common, which is to handle an object associated with the missing person and gain visions like an old toy or article of clothing. Your standard clairvoyance, which is basically extrasensory perception.
Right.
Remote viewing, which is just having visions of past or current events. Postcognition, which is essentially seeing, past events clearly. Mental telepathy, and even dowsing.
Yay!
Every single one of these methods has been thoroughly researched and debunked as trash, but bad ideas never go away. They just get monetized. Now, remember when I said the police seldom initiate contact with psychics? As we discussed, that's true. The calls almost always come in the other direction. Whenever there's a high-profile missing person or murder, they come out of the Victorian drawing room's woodwork and bother the shit out of the police.
It's such a pain in the
It's such a pain. It's
the kind of balls that you have to have on you
yeah.
to decide that you should insert yourself into some family's deepest
Trauma.
tragedy.
Yeah. So you guys will appreciate this. In one high-profile case close to home, that of the disappearance of Elizabeth Smart, who we've brought up many times on the show, the Salt Lake City Police Department received 9,000 unsolicited tips from self-described psychics.
No.
9,000.
Jesus Christ.
Burying the precious few leads from more credible sources under an avalanche of bullshit.
Yeah.
One premonition said she was in a concrete vault that had been made to house ancient native remains in the foothills overlooking downtown.
Oh my God, you're such an idiot. Like that's 10 different layers of idiot right there.
Totally. One had her body in a 55-gallon drum on the Texas coast. Not one of them had her alive and chained to a religious lunatic wandering the city in a veil within miles of her family home during her hellacious 9-month ordeal. So 0 for 9,000, guys.
Right.
So other than showing there is no gift to their gift, being unable to aid the rescue of a living missing child, their bullshit clogged the very limited resources of the taxpayer-funded agency charged with locating her. Oftentimes, psychics will contact the families of the missing directly, claiming some special knowledge.
Unethical.
Yes, this is particularly scummy, but weirdly, most people who study psychics and their motivations conclude that many of them earnestly feel they are doing the right thing.
Oh, I'm sure that that's true.
When you understand that, I don't know. I don't know if I agree.
I don't know about most, but I'm sure that that's true in a lot of cases.
It may be, but let me expound.
Yeah, go on.
Just to jump in real quick, good intentions does not excuse crime. Just saying.
Good intentions,
You know what I mean?
and does not excuse terrible outcome for a family,
Right.
Right.
So there are basically three ways they can arrive at their conclusions. And again, it's arguable whether some of them think they're really doing it, and some of them know that it's a scam, right? Or some combination of the two.
Right.
So 3 ways they can do this. First, they just straight up announce they know where the missing person or body is in the media or whatever, on a police answering machine. Secondly, they cold read. Now, this involves contact with the family or investigators, and the psychic will begin to throw out some very vague notions and see how other people respond to it. Like, I see water. I feel like there's something starting with the letter O involved or nearby, or maybe an R. So just to make sense of that, all of you listening at this very moment are near something that starts with an O or an R. Then there's
are they?
Then there's the hot read, which is a tad more work, but far more effective in being seen as legit. In most missing person cases, a bunch of public info accumulates quickly. News articles about the missing, pleas from the family on television, police statements, etc. A decent hot reader can then approach the family and flesh out details, making them seem truly psychic. And in some more high-profile cases, the police unwittingly show the hot reader non-public information to aid their, quote, gifts, like secret evidence, maybe information on possible suspects, maps of areas searched, all this making the psychic's job of faking up a chain of events all the more simple.
Yep.
So let's explore the last 2 techniques a bit. If you're in the guessing business, best guess on the safe side. In most cases, the psychics will describe the kidnapper or murderer as a man. Smart move. The vast majority of murderers and kidnappers are men. They will say, I see a tattoo. Also, a huge number of abducting or murderous men have already spent time in jail. Many of them have jailhouse tattoos. They'll say, the body is near water or in the woods. That's incredibly common prognostication.
That's
right?
most of the world.
But also, Doug, when you get rid of a body, do you dump it in the food court of the mall? Exactly. Or remote places with few onlookers where the soil and the water will conceal and decompose your crime, right?
Well, I don't put it in the food court of the mall again.
Yeah, I mean, it's just...
Right. You only make that mistake once.
That turned into a whole thing. Then, on the occasion that a hunter or a fisherman, or very commonly a dog walker, finds the body, the psychic can claim vindication. The same for the other vague bullshit. Oh my God, the killer was a man. Oh my God, there was something starting with an O nearby. The overpass or the office building. This is what skeptical paranormal investigator Benjamin Radford calls postmonition, confirming your vision long after the fact. Then postmonitions get whipped up in local and shitty national media as correct premonitions made before the conclusion of the case, when they really are not. So one of the most vile and pernicious of these people is a woman by the name of Sylvia Browne. Have you guys heard of her?
Yeah.
I haven't.
Yeah. So she's still pulling this con out there.
I thought she was... Didn't she die?
You know what? I have not looked at the obituaries for her, but last I saw she was still going.
Well, she no doubt died of unforeseen circumstances.
So Browne told the frantic mother of the missing Amanda Berry, quote, "She's not alive, honey." And she also told the parents of the abducted 11-year-old Sean Hornbeck on live television that he too was dead. Thankfully, she was 100% wrong in both cases, and the missing were recovered alive, if quite a bit worse for wear.
And only after their family had been deeply traumatized by this experience.
In fact, the mother of Amanda Berry died before Amanda was found.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. So and unless you were abducted by an aggrieved parent in a divorce, in a really charged divorce, which is the most common kind of abduction, you are statistically going to be dead within 36 hours. Right. So like the other cold and hot readers, Browne was playing the odds when she so brutally misled the families of those missing children. There's another thing about Browne specifically that nags at me. She may be, and I could be wrong. My vision is clogged. She may be dead. Dan may be right.
She is dead.
Okay, good. She's dead. She was one of the most high-profile practitioners of this grieving family predation. Yet her fee for parting the mists to see the fate and whereabouts of your missing loved one was just $700 an hour. And she
only
$700
an hour?
Yeah, but here's the thing. she usually just gives you 1 hour. One and done. It's not even that. So she usually just charges a family $700 with no follow-up. Now, I know for some people $700 is a lot of money, but I wouldn't think twice to post that as a reward for my missing cat. What would you pay for the information that led you to your beloved missing child, right? Mm-hmm. If she had a track record of finding dead girls or live boys, to paraphrase Louisiana Governor Edwin Edwards, she could charge 20 times that and people would find the money.
Sure.
It smells of a substantial insecurity about her gift, Like, it's enough money to pay the bills and that even poor families could scrape it together, but not enough to get sued over when it inevitably falls flat. It's very fishy money to me. So Sylvia Browne claimed a success rate of more than 85%.
Fuck off.
In locating,
that must be true.
It's totally true in locating missing persons or murder cases, which is astounding because in the U.S. an average of only 60% of homicide cases come to some kind of conclusion at all, with or without psychics every year. So she claims you're 25% better off with her than even the best homicide departments in the country. That's quite an extraordinary claim.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so, in 2010, the Skeptical Inquirer magazine, employer of the aforementioned investigator Benjamin Radford, examined Sylvia Browne's claims of having been totally or mostly right in 115 cases and concluded, quote, Browne has not even mostly been right in a single case. Now, I'm only singling out Browne here because of her profile, and that profile has invited so much investigation and public critique. She's just a very public face of a grotesque industry of crooks and vultures. And that's not my word for them. It's James the Amazing Randy's word for them. That's right. The gnome-like grandmaster debunker and friend of Uncle Dan, the late, great, honest liar James Randi fixed his stunningly keen gaze, for a man his age, on Sylvia Browne for all her awful crimes against frantic families and found her wanting. In a 2007 interview on CNN's Anderson Cooper 360, Randi and Anderson had a very nice intergenerational gay chat about Sylvia Browne and her emotional extortion scheme. In response to a question from Cooper asking Randi if he was surprised by the Montel Williams TV clip of Browne telling the very much alive Sean Hornbeck's parents that he was dead, Randi replied, no, I'm not surprised at all, because all of these people who say that they can speak with the dead, all of them, including Sylvia Browne, of course, are like vultures. They sit in a tree and they wait for the grieving to come by, grieving people who are vulnerable that really need some help, and are naive enough to think that, well, if she appears on Montel Williams, Montel Williams wouldn't deceive us. Of course, she must be the real thing.
Montel Williams, for you young folks, was a talk show host back in
when that was
like
all of
olden
daytime
days.
TV.
Yeah.
So, goddamn it again, TV industry. But anyway, Randi was more than just a splendiferous gay wizard and debunker par excellence. No, he put considerable money where his mouth was. The James Randi Foundation offered, and I don't know if they still do, Dan, but as far as I know,
this offer is now off the table.
It died with Randi.
Yeah.
Oh, they offered a $1 million cash award to any psychic or spoonbender or necromancer that could, under controlled, scientifically observable circumstances, prove their supernatural claims.
Yeah.
As he told Anderson Cooper, he extended the $1 million prize to Sylvia Browne, who makes her, miserable $700 an hour wage 1 hour at a time. But she said, and this is for real, that she, the greatest mystery-solving psychic of her age, could not figure out to get a hold of him. her crystal ball must not have had the Google. Hilarious. So, keen listeners may recall Dan discussing one of Randi's most spectacular takedowns of a fraud, that of the odious hope peddler and snake oil bastard Peter Popov in episode 55. That's a fantastic story. So here's a little aside. I thought the Amazing Randi was the first magician / bullshit debunker to go hard after the frauds of spiritualists and psychics. He was not. No, dear uncles. None other than the great Harry Houdini.
Yes, indeed.
The magician's magician and perhaps the most famous escape artist of all time was a member of the Scientific American Committee that offered a cash prize to any medium or psychic that could prove their spiritual claims. And in so doing, he took down some of the leading shysters of the age. Some people may know about the seances his beloved wife Bess held every Halloween after his death in an attempt to contact him. You guys know about those, right?
Yep.
Yep.
That was a very famous thing. What I didn't know about those famous seances was that they were a continued effort on the couple's behalf to debunk spiritualism and mediumship. They came up with a code that only the two of them would have known,
Right.
derived from their favorite song. And if her celebrity seances ever located him on the other side, his spirit would say, "Rosabelle, believe." So after 10 years of annual Halloween high-profile seances, Bess announced the effort complete, saying 10 years is long enough to wait for any man. So as of this recording, the huge cash awards offered by Harry Houdini and his successor James Randi remain uncollected. The FBI says that to date, they are unaware of a single case that was solved or even substantially aided by the advice of psychics or clairvoyants. That's not to say it couldn't happen, but in tens of thousands of cases, thus far, it has not. So, what are we to make of these people claiming inexplicable, extraordinary supernatural abilities with 0% real success rate, and postmonitions don't fucking count, who present themselves to desperate families in need of hope and inundate the voicemails and emails of the limited investigative police departments with totally unsubstantiated bullshit? Like I said before, most of the articles I read about psychic debunking concluded with a bizarrely extended presumption of innocence, even good intentions. But if you're using cold or hot reading techniques to sell your garbage to frantic people in crisis, I don't know how that can be well-intentioned. It may be possible that some of these kooks are so dim that they're somehow unaware that the techniques they're using are literally tools of deception, even as they use them. But that's a pretty special brand of stupid, if you ask me. So I know Hanlon's razor exhorts us to never attribute to malice that which can be adequately explained by stupidity. It can probably be a little bit of both, right?
Sure. There's no reason why why some of them can't have nefarious intent and others be just genuinely hapless morons. It doesn't even have to be stupidity. That's the crazy thing.
Yeah.
It can just be, I have literally seen it where someone says something offhand, like, when I was a child in elementary school, one day I said, wouldn't it be funny if there was a fire alarm today during the assembly? Mm-hmm. And then there was one.
Right.
And for a few weeks, I entertained the question of whether or not I was psychic.
Right.
I think that kind of an event can happen in someone's life, and it can happen to adults. And if it seems sort of outrageous enough, they can genuinely believe it. And there are people who will, quote unquote, train you to be a psychic.
Right. And especially if you're in a community where that kind of thing is believable.
Yeah. You go to Sedona, Arizona for psychic training, everyone around you is going to believe in it. Everyone around you is going to confirm to you that you are a psychic.
Yeah.
And you'll be trained in like cold reading techniques and warm reading techniques and stuff without you even knowing that that's what they're training you on.
And
They'll
yet
tell
you
you that
still
it's
can't
about
find
your
your car keys.
intuition. Yeah.
I'm astonished, and maybe I'm maybe this has happened, that there hasn't been a movie or TV movie of a serial killer who then poses as a psychic to lead the police to his own victims to make money.
That's a great idea.
There you go. It's kind of Dexter meets Psych or something.
Or
like
leads
that.
them to a competing serial killer's bodies to get him in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
That's
endless.
the sequel. That's the sequel.
Yeah, it's endless. I love it. So there you go. Police, psychics in police work. It should not be a thing. Do not. If someone is missing in your family and a psychic calls, hang up the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they knew you were going to do that anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
Let's
get out of
move
here.
on.